48 hours, not a month from now, not sometime this year, not in the vague, eventually, when things align correctly, way that most good things are described to people who have been waiting for good things. 48 hours, 2 days. The specific, compressed, this is already in final approach window of something that has been developing across a longer arc and that is now in the last phase of its arrival. The last phase, which means the development is complete, the assembling of conditions that needed to be assembled has been done, the process that had to run its course has run it. What remains is not more preparation or more waiting or any further accumulation of anything. What remains is the arriving, and the arriving is 48 hours away. I want to begin with the specific quality of 48 hours, because this reading is not simply about something good coming. It is about something good coming now. This specific, compressed, your life looks different on the other side of this window. And the now quality of it carries its own information that deserves to be named before anything else. Things that are 48 hours away are things that are already in motion, not in the planning stage, not in the conditions assembling stage, not even in the final preparation stage, in the motion stage, where whatever was being prepared has been released from the preparation and is now simply traveling the remaining distance. You are 48 hours from the arrival, not 48 hours from the beginning of the approach, 48 hours from where the approach completes. The approach has been underway for longer than 48 hours. The completion of the approach is 48 hours away. Let me describe what amazing means in this reading, because amazing is a word that can float into vagueness if it is not given specific content. Amazing does not mean pleasant. Pleasant is the ordinary category of good things, of things that are better than neutral, of things that produce a moment of warmth and then are absorbed into the ongoing texture of a life and become part of it without significantly restructuring what surrounds them. Amazing is the other category. The specific stops you mid whatever you were doing category of something that exceeds expectation by a margin that requires a moment of simply being in it before any other processing can begin. That produces the specific, slightly breathtaking quality of receiving something that your preparation, however extensive, was not quite adequate for, simply because the receiving of something amazing is never quite something you can fully prepare for. You can know it is coming. You can understand something about its quality and its size. And still, in the moment of its actual arrival, there is this specific, unavoidable, this is actually happening quality of something that lands differently from all the anticipation that preceded it. That is amazing. That is what is 48 hours away. I want to speak to the areas where the amazing is arriving, because amazing without location is not useful. You need to know where to be paying attention in the next 48 hours. For a significant portion of you, the amazing arrives in the relational dimension. Something moves. In the specific, finally moves quality of something that has been in a particular state and that crosses in this window into a different state. A communication arrives that changes the quality of what exists between you and someone specific. Something is said or offered or acknowledged that has been unsaid and unoffered and unacknowledged for a period of time, and that now, in this specific window, arrives in the form that allows engagement with it. For others, the amazing arrives in the material and professional dimension. Something confirms the specific, practical, now you know quality of confirmation that something has been decided or approved or completed in a way that produces a material difference in what is available to you. A door that has been in a state of not yet open moves, a response arrives, a number is produced. A development that was in progress completes, and its completion is delivered to you in a form you can hold and point to. For still others, the amazing arrives in the form of a realization, an internal one, the specific arriving in its own time quality of an understanding that has been building and that crystallizes in this window into something clear enough to act on. Something about your own life and your own direction and your own readiness for something that you were not previously certain you were ready for that becomes in 48 hours simply clear. And for many of you, the amazing has a quality of more than one of these, has the specific convergence quality of something that touches multiple dimensions of your life simultaneously and that changes the quality of multiple things at once. I want to speak to what has been building toward this because 48 hours from now is not an arbitrary window that has been selected from among many equally likely windows. It is the window produced by the specific, accumulated, long developing sequence of everything that has been building toward this particular moment. Something has been in process in your life, not always visible, not always producing evidence of its progression that would have allowed you to track it with confidence, but running, moving through whatever the stages of its own development are, requiring time and requiring the specific, particular, cannot be rushed or forced completion of each stage before the next could begin. The final stage has completed, and the completion of the final stage in any process is what produces the result. The result is 48 hours away. The result is 48 hours away. I want to give this one more dimension because I think naming the invisible process will help you understand why this window and not some other window. Every significant arrival has a sequence, a set of stages that must be completed in order, each one requiring the prior to be finished before it can begin. This is not a metaphor. It is the practical reality of how change unfolds in human lives. How the conditions for something significant to occur require the assembly of multiple factors that each have their own timelines. How the arrival of the significant thing is not a single event, but the culmination of a sequence of events, most of which were not visible to you as events because they were occurring in the background of other people's lives or in the invisible infrastructure of the situation. The sequence for what is arriving in 48 hours began long before 48 hours ago. You have been inside the sequence for longer than you knew. The moments that felt like stalling, the periods that felt like nothing was happening, the stretches of ordinary days without visible evidence that anything was building, were stages in the sequence, were the necessary, specific, cannot be skipped stages of the process that has been running, were the time required for specific conditions to be assembled that could not have been assembled any faster without compromising the quality of what was being assembled. The assembly is complete, all stages done. What remains is the final step of the sequence, the delivery, 48 hours. Let me speak to something about your preparation for this that I think is the most important piece of this reading. You have been more ready than you knew. The specific readiness that the amazing thing requires to land in its full form, to be received at the size it is actually arriving in, rather than being compressed into something more manageable by a receiver who was not quite positioned for its full size. That readiness has been developing in you alongside the development of the arriving thing, not by accident. The same process that was building the thing that is arriving was also building the version of you that is capable of receiving it. Was requiring of you the specific, particular, sometimes challenging growth that having access to the amazing thing in its full form would eventually need. You did the growth without always knowing what the growth was for. And the growth has produced exactly the version of you that is positioned to receive what is coming without having to compress it. Tell me in the comments what you are feeling in the specific period leading up to this reading, whether the quality of recent days has had a particular charge to it, whether there has been a specific quality of something is close that you have been registering without knowing exactly what it was registering, the approach of whether this reading has named something you are already sensing. I want to know. I want to speak to what the 48 hours themselves feel like, because the hours between now and when the amazing thing arrives have their own quality, and I want to prepare you for it. They will feel slightly charged, not anxious. The specific charged quality is different from anxiety. It is closer to the quality of the atmosphere just before something breaks, where the air has a particular density to it, where the ordinary texture of the hours has a slightly heightened quality, where everything continues as it continues, but with a quality of something nearby that you are aware of even when you are occupied with other things. That quality is normal. It is the 48-hour awareness, the specific, slightly electric quality of being in very close proximity to something significant, of being in the final approach window. Allow it. Do not try to resolve it by reaching toward what is coming or by distracting yourself so thoroughly that you cannot feel it. Allow the charged quality of the final approach to be what it is. It is not discomfort. It is aliveness. The specific heightened aliveness of someone who is very close to something that is going to matter. Inhabit it. I want to speak to what you do in these 48 hours, because the hours between now and the arrival are not simply waiting hours. They are preparation hours. And the preparation that matters in this window is not the preparation of someone who is organizing themselves for a specific outcome. It is the preparation of someone who is present, simply that. The full, unhurried, not managing anything quality of someone who is in the ordinary moments of these 48 hours with the full quality of their attention rather than with the portion of their attention that is not elsewhere, who is not partly in these hours and partly in the future hours, who is here now in whatever these specific hours contain. Because amazing things, when they arrive, need a receiver who is present, not a receiver who is partly already in the anticipated moment of the arrival and therefore not fully in the actual moment of the arrival when it occurs. Full presence in the hours before, full presence in the moment of, full presence in the hours after. That is the preparation. That is the preparation. I want to add something practical to this because I think the practical version of presence is more useful than the philosophical version. Presence in these 48 hours means doing what your day requires, not more, not less. The ordinary obligations and the ordinary engagements and the ordinary forward motion of a life that has things in it that matter and that continue to matter regardless of what is about to arrive. Meeting those obligations, being in those engagements, maintaining the forward motion. not because the amazing thing does not matter more than the ordinary day, because the ordinary day is what you are in when the amazing thing arrives. Because being in your ordinary day, fully and without the distorted quality of someone who has relocated their attention to the future, is the specific state that the amazing thing needs to find you in. Not elevated, not poised, not in the particular slightly theatrical quality of someone who is waiting for something significant and is therefore holding themselves in a way that signals the waiting. Simply in your day, the day that is about to be interrupted by something remarkable, that interruption is the arrival. And the more fully you are in the day that precedes it, the more fully you will experience the interruption for what it is. Let me describe what the moment of arrival actually looks like, because I want to give you the most honest possible picture of what the next 48 hours contain. It arrives in an ordinary moment. This is the consistent quality of significant arrivals, not in moments that have been elevated in advance by expectation or by the particular elevated quality of some special occasion. In the ordinary texture of an ordinary hour, of an ordinary day, that is transformed by what arrives into something that is no longer ordinary, not by the day, by what enters the day. The arrival is the transformation, and the transformation is complete in the moment of the arrival. You will not have to wait after the arrival for things to be different. They will be different in the moment. The specific, immediate, no processing required quality of something that is obviously different in the instant of its arrival, that does not require interpretation or analysis or the working out of implications over time before its significance becomes legible. It arrives legible. It arrives legible. I want to describe what legible arrival actually feels like, because it is a specific quality that is worth naming so that when it happens you recognize it as what it is, rather than second guessing whether what just arrived is actually as significant as it seems. Legible arrival feels like certainty. Not the gradual certainty that builds as you process something over time and eventually arrive at confidence about what it means. The immediate certainty, the specific in the moment of reception quality of understanding before any analytical process has been engaged, that what just happened is what it is, that it means what it means, that it requires no further interpretation or working out to understand. You will know in the moment without having to think about whether you know, and the knowing will have a quality of completion to it. The specific, slightly final quality of something that has been in a state of incompleteness, that has been the subject of the particular uncertainty that comes from a situation that has not yet resolved, suddenly being complete, suddenly having its resolution delivered in a form that makes the incompleteness retrospectively comprehensible. This is what happened. This is what it means. This is what comes next. All three simultaneously. In the moment of arrival, that is the legible quality of what is coming in 48 hours. I want to say something about what the amazing thing means beyond its immediate form, because what arrives in 48 hours is not only what it is also what it represents and what it opens and what it changes in the understanding of what the next chapter looks like. It represents confirmation that the direction you have been moving in is the right one, that the specific, sometimes quiet, sometimes uncertain, often unrewarded quality of your continued showing up in the direction of what you believe is true and right and aligned for you has been producing something that was not always visible, but that was always real. The something is about to become visible, and in its becoming visible, the confirmation, not just of the specific thing that arrives, of the approach, of the quality of how you have been navigating, of the specific particular version of yourself that you have been bringing to your life through this chapter that has not always received the external acknowledgement it deserved. The acknowledgement is 48 hours away. The acknowledgement is 48 hours away. I want to give that word acknowledgement its full weight before we move to the closing. Acknowledgement from the world of what you have been doing and who you have been being is one of the rarer experiences available to a person. Most of what we do and most of who we are moves through the world without producing a clear, legible, undeniable signal that the world has received it and found it significant. You move, things happen, results accumulate, but the connection between what you offered and what arrived as consequence is usually ambiguous, is mediated by so many other factors that the specific personal quality of the acknowledgement gets diluted. What is arriving in 48 hours has a different quality. The acknowledgement that is coming is specific. It names something. It points at a particular dimension of what you are or what you have built or what you have contributed. And it says, yes, this is what it produced. This is what it was worth. Not in language necessarily, in the form of whatever the specific arrival takes, but the message inside it, readable to you in the way that things meant specifically for you are readable, is yes, you were right. This was the direction. The continuation was worth it. And now here is what the continuation produced. As we close, I want to give you one final image, a clock, not ticking towards something with the anxious quality of someone counting down to something they are afraid might not arrive. Ticking with the completely different quality of someone who knows what the clock is counting toward and who is simply in the hours between now and it, being in the hours between now and it, fully not waiting, being, because being fully in the hours between now and 48 hours from now is the only thing that stands between you and the full quality of the arrival when it comes. Be in the hours. Let the hours be the hours, and then let the arrival be the arrival. Something amazing is coming, Virgo, in 48 hours. It is already on its way.